hello, beautiful girlfriends who are at home listening. We are so excited to be back and talk to my good friend, Alicia Kennon today. Alicia and I have known each other. We were just talking. She said since the 80s.
Yeah.
You have a better memory than I do. So I was like, was it third grade or second grade?
It was third grade.
In Catholic school in our little uniforms that we were trying to figure out how to make fashionable because they were the dorkiest things. And yeah, that was us at 8 and 9 years old.
How cute.
So, and then we got reconnected back in high school. So like I had left that school and then we reconnected and it was like we picked right up where we left off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so great. I was like scrolling on TikTok and just happened to see your face. And I hadn't talked to you in like 12 years or something like that, maybe longer. And so even your voice didn't really sound familiar. But I was like, wait, I know this person. And it was you talking about getting a lower facelift. And I just thought that is so cool. I love that you're posting these videos and being super transparent. We're all getting to that age where we're looking in the mirror and kind of like, why is everything down there that used to be up here? And I just loved the transparency about it. So thank you so much for coming and talking to us and our listeners about your experience.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for reaching out and happy to share my experience and, you know, the things that I've learned over the course of the last 6 months going through the process. And yeah, I mean, I just think it's important, especially at the age we're at. These are things that are hot topics of conversation among everyone that I talk to. And I think that there's not a lot of information out there, especially for women in their 40s who are thinking about these kinds of procedures and what it might look like for you long term. People think facelift and they think you're going to turn into like one of those crazy cat face ladies, you know, like I don't want to use any names, but you guys all know who I'm talking about when I describe that. And so you get a lot of judgment for it. But I think it's I had a really great experience and I'm really happy with the outcome. So I'm glad to be able to share that with people.
I can't wait to dig into this. This is so fun. I'm an esthetician, so I do have a lot of clients that are in their 40s, and I'm about to be 49. So we're all kind of in that same realm. Yep. But they'll ask me like, oh, tell me about a product. Tell me. And there's a time when you have to go, listen, I can load you up with like all the peptides, all the like exomes, all the amazing things, but we got to start talking like Medi-Spa now or, you know, beyond that. And so I love that you are so open and you shared, right, even when you got here and started talking to Greta and I, that like, it's not just the facelift, girl, you've done some other things too. So can we kind of start from like, when did you first make the decision that you were going to do something in plastics, and I'll just call it plastics, but you know what I mean? When were you going to do some enhancements and like why?
Sure. So, I mean, let's start with, I started with breast augmentation and lift because I had a ruptured implant. So it had to be redone at some point, no matter what. But in between the rupture and when I actually got surgery, I also lost a ton of weight, like over 100 pounds. And
can we just
yes.
Hold on.
Cheers.
Yeah. So, I mean, Greta's known me since I was in third grade. I was always the like chubbier of the group of friends. And in 2021, after we had a year of just straight drinking at home during the pandemic, I was like, this has to change. So my sister and I started a fitness and health journey, and both of us lost a ton of weight. But there's only so much you can do for your body. You can lose all the weight, but you can't lose all of the skin that you've carried around for all those years.
Right.
And so I had the ruptured implant. I had all of the loose skin. So I decided at that point that I needed to go and see someone about it. And I, like everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but like most women our age, I get Botox. And I asked my woman who does my Botox, like, who would you guys go to? And they both used to work for Dr. Moriotti in Concord. And so that's where the journey started. So we started with boobs and tummy, which turned out absolutely amazing. And then I started transitioning to the other surgeries. I then had the loose skin removed from my arms. And then I had the loose skin, I had made an appointment to have the loose skin removed from my legs. And in between, I ended up getting engaged. So then I got my legs done, and then that sort of expedited the desire, if you will, to just make everything look the best it possibly could. You look at yourself a little more closely in the mirror when you know you're about to have professional photography for 10 or 12 hours of the day. And those are definitely things that you don't think about in your 20s, but you do think about them in your 40s. So that's the journey to where I am and how I got to where we are today.
I do think that is such a valid point that you bring up. I mean, working so hard to get your nutrition, the right way, and you work out and you're losing all this weight. And then you're left with the loose skin, and it's like you just want to enjoy your body. You just want to be able to put on a bathing suit. I mean, you did all that hard work. I mean,
like Pilates isn't going to like remove the excess skin.
Not.
It's not. And I mean, I was very fit underneath all of that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I go to Orange Theory 5 days a week. I do Pilates. I do all of those things, but there was nothing that was going to get rid of that skin. Mm-hmm. I would have been perfectly happy staying in that body with the loose skin had I not had the opportunity and the option.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not a one or the other. This is the only way you're going to be happy is if you absolutely look in the mirror every day and think that every single, piece of skin or whatever is in the perfect place that it's going to be. But for me, where I was and where I am in my life, I'm very fortunate to be able to do the things that I did, but I would have been happy without it.
Yeah.
I would have been very proud of myself without it.
Yeah.
It's just,
it is an accomplishment.
It's an opportunity to just take it to that next level. And I was fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah. And you earned it. I mean, I didn't mention this. I meant to earlier, but you're a self-made woman. You're a very successful lawyer. You've worked hard all your life. Alicia was like in high school going, I'm going to be a lawyer. And she fucking did it.
Yeah.
So you know what? And then you lost the weight, and I just think you've earned it. And you're glowing right now. You look so happy.
Thank you.
I love that you have found your person and you have this great wedding to look forward to, and you can feel good.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a difference. You do feel differently. And so, just being able to do all of those things has just made this process a lot more fun also. So I think I'm enjoying it, but I do really feel like I'm definitely in the best shape of my life ever, but in the best time of my life. There are other times in life that were amazing and fun for different reasons, but I just feel the most confident that I've ever felt. Like I finally feel like my outside has matched the way I felt on the inside my entire life.
Fuck yes.
No, hang on to that for a minute. That was good.
You can have the best time in your life at 44, at 65, at 80. Like life is full of opportunities to just enjoy and show up fully and be present. And I love the hope that gives everyone.
And I think that it should. I think if, we look around and some of our friends, I think we can all say, we've got many friends probably who've been married and divorced at this point or going through struggles with different things in their lives. There's always an opportunity for something more beyond where we're at. So don't give up hope that the happiness isn't right around the corner. And I've seen friends struggle with that. And I've certainly struggled with it in my life.
We all have at some point, right?
Where I'm just like, ugh,
is this what it is?
Yeah. This sucks.
Yes.
And I love that we can be in our 40s and feel good about who we are. And I think part of that is the maturing, obviously. But that's the thing. Why can't our outer parts of us, like you said, match that inner? Because I feel hella youthful. When I wake up in the morning and I'm jumping out of bed and I'm all, what am I going to do? I've got work or I've got this and that I got to do. I feel good, in my body. And I'll talk to 49-year-olds who are like, no, I don't, right? I'm feeling age. And so sometimes I'll go to look at my face and then it's like, oh, hold on. What about them wrinkles real quick? And it's why shouldn't I smooth that shit out? You know what I mean? Because I feel so youthful. So I do agree with what you said, where it's why can't we allow our outside to match the inside?
Right. And I do think people, I don't. I really have tried for the last 10 years to not be judgmental. When I was young, I was judgmental. I fully own it. I probably was a hater to some people.
We all have had to work on that.
I have really tried to not be judgmental for at least the last decade. And I think there's a lot of judgment around plastic surgery and doing things. And even when I'm, I've even had friends say to me, oh my God, you're getting another eye roll. Look, don't be a hater just because you can't afford it. And I know that sounds snotty, but like you would do it too.
Well, because you're like, where are they coming from? Is this truly of like a jealousy thing, or is it really a health concern? Right?
Yeah.
Because you might have a friend who's just like, hey,
Yeah.
I think that's the question.
Yeah.
That everybody should ask. If you're sitting at home right now listening and judging, ask yourself why.
Why are you judging?
Because judging is a reflection of how you're feeling. So you're a projection.
Exactly.
Of how you're
That's
feeling.
a you issue, not a me issue.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I get it. Like I said at the top of our discussion, I don't want to look like a crazy person. And there are people that can tend to go too far. And I think we can look at tons of things in the media where this has happened. Filler was like the thing, right?
Yeah.
And people got kind of strange looking.
Yeah. A little
And
carried away.
a little carried away.
Like,
And that's
No
what-
lines at all.
No lines at
anywhere.
all. Weird. Even your face shape.
Yeah.
Really
looks like a
changed.
character on
Right.
like a cartoon or something, you know?
I didn't want that.
No.
I
Now, if my girlfriend said, girl, you are starting to look like that, then I'd be like,
Well,
thank you.
100%.
Thanks for like being honest with me and guiding me. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about
we're
those
just
people
talking
that
about the
are,
people who are just kind of like, oh, why would you do that? Well,
Yeah.
it's okay if you don't want to.
Mhm.
You don't need to.
yeah.
You're beautiful just how you are. Do whatever you want. But I want to do it.
Mhm.
I look at this face in the mirror every single day.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it looks different. And I trust my plastic surgeon implicitly. And I know he would never take me to a point where I would look weird.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You wanted to just look like yourself.
Yes.
Without the extra skin. And
Without
I
the
think
extra
that's
skin.
what is the big difference. There are
Mhm.
people that go in and they're like trying to look like someone completely different.
Right.
Like a
Like we see-
Kardashian or something.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
they'll bring a picture in and it's like, this is what I want to look like. And it's all, your bone structure is not that. Your eyebrows don't sit like that.
Yeah.
But you said something that I want to go back to for a minute for those who might be considering something. You said that you trust your plastic surgeon. And I think we need to take a moment to hone in on that because I think that is so incredibly important.
Yes.
So I've done a little work myself. I had a breast reduction and a
Okay.
lift.
Mhm.
And same thing. When I met up with my surgeon, I wasn't sure what size to go to because they were always so big. And my mind goes, I want the smallest thing possible because I want to have a big difference. I want to not wear a bra or, lift up my shirt and feel good. But he's like, listen, your shoulders are a little broader. Like, he's kind of, and it wasn't in a way that was offensive. It was like,
They're artists, really.
they're
Yeah.
artists. And so when I really thought about that, he's like, no, we're going to go to this size. And it was like, okay, that's still a little bigger than what I wanted. But he was right though. And I still felt really good. Like once everything was done because I could actually button my shirts, and I didn't have to wear certain types of clothing or certain kind of bras. And so, but that was a relationship and that was a trust that I put in him, right? It wasn't coming in with the picture going, make me look like that girl. It's like, you're not shaped like that girl. That's not going to happen, So I think the people that are really considering it, do your research, right?
And have a
Definitely.
realistic expectation.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, when I went to Dr. Mariotti in Concord. Won't mind that I'm using his name in this podcast.
We'll tag him on
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, and I told him I'd seen him last week for a follow-up and I said, I'm going on a podcast next week.
We
So-
should actually get him on too.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm sure he would love to come on and talk about it. But I mean, he's been in the Bay Area for a long time. And but exactly to your point about go to somebody who's going to tell you how your body is going to look better, not to look like someone else's body or face or whatever. And I think Dr. Mariotti was really good about that. Like, hey, this is a body that looks like yours. And even now when I go back, he goes, oh, I just had somebody in, I did a tummy tuck and I used your pictures because they had a similar body and that this is what they could expect from the tummy tuck or whatever. So I think that is super important. And don't just go to somebody because someone else went to them. You have to go into that appointment and feel comfortable and confident. And I think I said this was I had a ruptured implant. So I had a breast augmentation in 2005, right after I graduated from law school. And I really liked my surgeon at the time, but the trend in 2005 was these really big boobs. And I was thicker then. So I had these huge, like way too big boobs. And, that was the trend. I was comfortable with him at the time, but I'm so glad that I went to somebody who heard what I was saying. I was like, I don't want my boobs to be that big anymore. Like, I want them to be smaller, even if I was still heavier. I still would want them
Proportionate.
smaller. Yeah.
You would never even know you had anything done.
Right.
wanna
And,
look
like, even
natural.
my implants are still bigger than a lot of people's implants, even though they're like small to me, they're still bigger than lots of people. So
They fit you perfect.
that's how I feel.
Yeah,
too.
they're not
So,
like, I don't know. I always feel bad for the girls that went super, super big. And then it's like, that's all anyone's looking at. You have a beautiful face. You don't want everyone just to.
better now.
Yes. Well, and as I even look at you, because I'm meeting you for the first time,
Right.
I don't look at you and go, "Oh, that girl must have had a ton of
Yes,
plastic
I'm glad you're
surgery."
bringing that up.
It's not
people
like
that are
you
listening.
look so natural that it's
Thank
just like this
you.
is just this beautiful woman who, and
Yeah.
again, no judgment around anything that you've done, but I don't look at you picking things apart going, "Oh, she must have had the chin done or she must have had this done," because you can't tell. Like, you look phenomenal.
Thank you. And
Good job, Dr. Moriarty.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what I was going for. I'm not trying to look different. I thought I was pretty before. Like, not to be conceited, but
No,
I thought I was pretty before.
Yes.
I just wanted to put things kind of back where I thought they should be. And for me,
Yes.
like, it was in the neck, and in my family we call it chin
Girl,
deficient.
the neck
Like,
is-
everyone has that. Like my grandma, my mom.
So what did you do?
everybody.
What did you do to your
So what we did was we did a lower facelift, which involves incisions, which are completely undetectable at this point, but along the front of my ear and then down behind and maybe like a quarter of an inch into my hairline behind my neck. What that does is it pulls everything up from your lower neck up to your cheekbones. So everything that was
What
low.
I'm doing in the mirror all the time.
Yeah, what you're doing in the mirror all the time. Exactly. When he asked me what bothers you the most, that's exactly what I did. I went like this. I was like, this is what bothers me the most.
Just go back up there.
And he goes, okay, so this is what we need to do. He goes, you don't need a full facelift, which would include brow, a lift and incisions that go all the way to the top of your head and a brow lift. He goes, you don't need that yet. You might need that in the future. You don't need that now. You have a strong
Well, I
brow
appreciate
bone.
him saying that right there.
Right? Like, you don't need that. So don't do that. And so he, so that's what he did. So it just pulled everything up and tight and back. And if
Nice
you did,
jawline.
yeah, nice chiseled out jawline. I didn't do any lipo. Sometimes they do a little lipo here, but he said I didn't have any fat to lipo out. And even still, he was very honest. He goes, you're not going to, there's no way to get rid of everything that's there.
Right.
It's just not possible. You'll be pulled way too tight. You'll end up with that cat kind of look.
Yeah.
Um,
Peeled back look.
yeah.
Did you have to shave your hair at all? Because that was the first thing as soon as you started saying goes behind your
No.
hairline. I'm like, oh God, no hair.
I have extensions and I did take them out.
Okay.
I was not required to take them out. I just took them out for like ease of taking them out.
Uh-huh.
To not have them while I was recovering. And I have to say that I'm very thankful that I did, because they wrap your head up like crazy, right? And I stayed one night in the surgery center, and I woke up the next morning and I went home, and you have drains in just overnight with Dr. Moriotti. I can't speak to any other plastic surgeon. You have drains in. He comes in the next morning. He takes those out. You get discharged. You go home, and you have this like full-on head wrap. It goes around your forehead, and I mean, it was over my ears. I couldn't hear. Couldn't hear well. I was like, I don't know if this is normal or
Yeah.
not. But when you go to get the head wrap off the next day in the office. So my surgery was a Monday. Tuesday, I'm discharged. I went back for my first follow-up on Wednesday. My hair, like, have you seen a troll? Remember those troll
just
dolls?
a matted.
It was literally matted into
Oh
a
my
straight up
gosh.
V
Oh my God.
with whatever. I'm just like
a B.
surgical.
Oh,
whatever.
You would
my
have never got
God.
those extensions out.
No.
You would have never had the patience to wash that out. Like, I barely had the patience for the 7 strands I have of hair that I have without my extensions in.
So note to self, ladies,
Yeah.
take those extensions out if
That
you're getting a
would be my
facelift.
pro tip on this is if you've got a weave, go ahead and get it out.
Yeah.
Remove that.
Noted.
Unless you're a really patient gal. And,
Yeah.
But I'm just not. And
Sometimes it's good to
am
take
not
a break
patient girl. But
hair.
anyways, I took them out for that.
So how long was your healing time?
The healing time actually wasn't bad. Honestly, so my surgery was a Monday. I was on a Zoom call the following Monday for work, and I did a hearing over Zoom on the Wednesday after. So
Wow.
9 days post-op.
Okay.
I didn't have any makeup on or anything at that point in time, but I did put on like my big fake blue light glasses just to kind of, my cheeks were very swollen and very pronounced. but nobody seemed to notice or say anything. And then Dr. Moriotti had an event, like, you know how med spas tend to do some sort of customer appreciation event. And I went. That was 10 days post-op. And I put makeup on that day. I bought a color correcting palette to cover up the bruises and put some makeup on. And everyone was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh yeah, I just had a facelift like 10 days ago. But I didn't think it was bad at all. I had, in terms of overall process, very, very simple. I've had 2 somewhat complications following surgery. Neither are particularly major, things that are very normal that can happen. That I had, one involved a suture at the hairline at the back of my head, where my body has a tendency to try to spit out. They call it a suture spit. And your body just rejects it. And I guess it can happen. I didn't know this before, but it can happen at any time. Like, it could happen 5 years from now, 5 years from the surgery.
Wow.
But mine seemed to tend to happen, at least in my experience, within like the first 3 to 5 months. So this happened probably within the first month it happened. And so I knew it was happening, and it's kind of painful. It kind of looks like a boil, or starts to form like a bruise under the skin, and
it's trying to work its way
trying to work its way out, and you just feel it, and you're just like, oh. And I did post some pictures of that on my TikTok, so you can actually see the pictures on the TikTok.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back. I missed them.
It's like a bruise, and so anyways, because I fancy myself. My sister and I fancy ourselves doctors. I was like, oh, Lizzie, just take it out. So my sister went in with the tweezers and pulled it out, and it was fine. And then the other thing that I had, which I'm still kind of working on now, is here in this, and I know, we're on camera, so I'll try to or not on camera, so I will describe it. But I had like a little bump, a pocket of fluid that ended up trapped between like a layer of skin, a layer of fat naturally in my face, and the incision. And so it started to show up, I would say, maybe at like the 4-week mark, once the swelling had gone down enough to actually see what the under structure of my face was. And of course I didn't like it. I was like, uh-oh. And they're like, just keep massaging it. Just keep massaging it. Well, as I've already alluded, I'm not a patient person. I have a wedding coming up. I'm not, we need to expedite this process. So in December, I got an injection in it, and it's some sort of a steroid injection that helps it to dissolve whatever it is. It's like a little bit of fat that just needs to be dissolved.
I mean, can't that happen with implants too? I feel like I've heard of this before.
It can happen with implants. It can happen, I guess, with liposuction, and it can happen with any surgery. Yeah. But what Dr. Moriotti explained was you don't often see it in other surgeries, but on your face it can happen. So I don't think that I don't think it's detectable anymore by anyone who doesn't know that it's there. But as
are you focusing on it?
Yeah. We can all see what's on our face. But I think it's getting better. You couldn't even, I have a very small dimple, but you couldn't even see my dimple before at all when it was swollen. So now I feel like it's coming back. And he said, there's options for it. You can do more than one injection, but then there's risks of that where you might get an indentation.
I'm literally trying to look for it. I can't see anything.
What are you talking about?
There.
I see the little dimple, but I don't see.
It's right next to the little dimple. It's right here. But anyway, so
I get it though. I got my nose fixed. I had broken my nose when I was little, and then we just didn't have insurance for that stuff, so it never got set or anything, and I just walked around with a broken nose my whole life until I was 30, almost 40. Finally took care of it. But yeah, it had some issues. It didn't quite heal the way, because it was old bone, they told me, which is real great for your self-esteem when you're about to turn 40. But I get it. Everyone's like, oh, I don't see it. I'm like, oh, I see it. I focus on it. I put extra makeup on it. But I don't have a broken nose anymore.
Exactly.
I feel way better about that.
Feel better about that. I know. And no one would know that. No one knows it that's looking at you. I mean, and I guess that's the big message, right? You know it. Do it for you.
Yeah.
Don't do it for anybody else.
Yeah, I appreciate you just talking about some of the little complications, things that can happen. I mean, the body doesn't even heal the same on both sides.
No.
You just don't know.
And you just have to wait for the swelling to go down. And I'm 4 months post-op now. And basically, and I'm sure when you did your nose too, I've also had a nose job, but with a different plastic surgeon a long time ago. But even that, your nose, when you have facial surgery, it's a year before it even looks like what
it's going to
look
yes.
like. So the fact that I was I mean, honestly, like a month out, I was like, the next day I was like, this is great. The day they took the wrapping off, the head wrap off, even though I had the troll hair, I was like, oh, this is good.
Ooh, you could tell right away.
Right away. And I was like super happy with it. Yeah. And like you pointed out, you don't know. It's your body. Everybody's body is different in how it heals and how it reacts to things. And like some people get very swollen and some people bruise. And I've done other like facial laser procedures where I've been like more swollen than I was with my facelift.
Wow. I was just going to ask you about the recovery. Like how painful would you say?
So I am a unicorn when it comes to pain. So I don't think that I'm a person to like be the measure for anyone else. I took no pain medicine.
Oh, good job.
None. So, and I took none.
Wow.
I took none with my tummy tuck and my breast implants. Oh. I took no pain medicine with anything. I didn't have pain that way. So I don't necessarily think that I'm the right person to listen to on that topic because I seem to have a high tolerance for pain. But to sort of provide some context for that, like I've suffered from migraines for 20 years now, and a migraine will knock me out. But these surgeries, I'm like, oh, this is nothing. So I don't know if it's because I'm like used to this different level of pain and annoyance.
Maybe the migraines.
The migraines are like a 9 or
receptor
10.
sites are a little different somewhere. Yeah.
Like these body surgeries have been like, you know, they're like, well, how are you? I'm like, I don't know, like a 2. Yeah. They're like, that's it.
And again, that's another good point. Everybody's different. You feel different. Your pain level tolerance is going to be different.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, take the medication, stay on top of it so you don't.
And stay ahead of it. Do what your doctor, I mean, at the end of the day, do what your doctor tells you. Don't.
Totally.
Yeah.
But if you're not feeling pain, don't think that that's like out of the ordinary.
Right. I had the same experience as you. I had no pain, and they did a little lipo on the sides of my breasts and also a little bit on the sides of my waist. And, you know, they kept asking me too, like with my legs, and I didn't do anything to my legs, but they said a lot of people get swelling and this and this can happen. And like none of that was happening. And they were kind of blown away. Also, it was funny. I actually took a half of a Norco, like,
oh, that shit's crazy.
Oh my God. The night, like I think it was like the first night, and I had so much anxiety and I felt like shit. And my husband was just like, oh, maybe you should take the other half to like kind of, you know, maybe it needs to balance out. I'm all, no, like I'm done with the drugs. Like, and then it was nothing after that, and everything was totally fine.
Yeah.
I also had a surgeon, and I picked him purposely because he didn't do drains. And so that's something else too, is that there are some that do, there are some that don't.
Right. So the only drains I had were for my facelift. I did not have drains for any of my other surgeries with Dr. Moriotti. So a lot of doctors do, tummy tucks, and they have drains. Everyone always asks me, do you have drains? And the drains on the facelift, honestly, I kind of have because I stayed in the surgery center that night, I have like this vague recollection of seeing them when I got up to use the restroom, but they were out before I was like, even
awesome.
That's great.
Aware of them being in, you know?
Yeah.
I just kind of remember they were like little like earrings almost dangled right here. And I got up in the night.
Like I was adorned.
Maybe twice to
You're
use
probably,
the restroom. And I was obviously still like heavily under anesthesia or recovering from the anesthesia. But I don't remember them even coming out. Like I have zero memory of that. Zero recollection of it.
That's
very
nice.
cool.
You have to go home with that.
Yeah, you don't have to go home with them. And I, you know,
have your fiance drain them for
honey,
you.
can you drain these things for me? Like my mom had breast cancer almost 3 years ago and had a double mastectomy, and she had drains. So my sister and I were familiar with the drains and helping my mom with that. But I mean, I didn't have to do any of that with Dr. Moriotti, and he is very much on the body surgeries, like doesn't do drains.
Awesome.
Compared to, again, we've all had friends that have had plastic surgery. Some do. I've had friends who've had drains for breast aug. I never had them with either of my breast augmentations, so I don't know what the decision-making point is at that. But yeah, no drains is definitely better. But my drain experience was not terrible, so.
And ultimately, it's whatever your body needs, whatever your doctor needs.
But I think the draining thing has something to do with swelling, right? So,
which can be really uncomfortable. So if you're reducing some of that.
If you're then and well monitored. And I did like that I stayed in the surgery center that first night.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I
feel
like
like-
that too. I'm like,
totally.
that's what I
Yeah,
like.
Don't
you
send
get-
me home.
No.
Yeah, you get fully cared for,
Yeah.
you know, all night long if you need it. And I didn't need very much care post facelift. Post tummy tuck and breast dog, I needed a little bit more, but I didn't need really very much at all. I just like, okay, I'm just going to go back to sleep now. Like wake up and like Jesse, my fiance, had brought me, and that's another thing we should talk about. The things I did that I think helped to like not bruise as bad. And
Oh,
get
yeah.
worse. But he had chopped up like pineapple and like kiwi and strawberries for me. And I just was like eating that all night. I just remember I'd wake up and like eat it, like and then go right back to sleep, and then wake up and eat it and go right back to sleep.
And those
So-
have nutrients that's supposed to help with that.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, the enzymes are supposed to be healing.
Yeah, like it
your
has
body.
pineapple has bromine. I
Mhm.
think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called, and that is supposed to be really helpful for swelling and bruising. So leading up to my facelift, I was eating pineapple like every single day.
Smart.
Dice me up a pineapple.
So
I was
good.
just a little pineapple eater all
Yeah.
week, and it was so good and
Yeah.
refreshing.
Good
and
for your immune system too before you're going to go
Yeah.
into surgery.
so besides that, and then I did the arnica
Uh-huh.
for 4
Bruising.
days. So 2 days prior to surgery, and then the first 2 days post-op, I took arnica like 3 times a day, 3 or 4 times a day.
Orally. You took it.
Orally.
Okay, yeah.
And that I think really helped because, again, if you go back and follow along on the TikTok for the first, month that I posted, and I have an entire album. I took pictures every single day on my phone. Like I did not have a lot of bruising. I fully expected to come out with like black eyes.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
I was nervous about
Yeah.
that when I got the email right before I'm going to go have surgery that, we need you to be on this conference call on Monday. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I didn't tell my colleagues that I had a facelift,
Yeah.
and not that they would care. I told some, but like, I'm not telling my big bosses,
Right.
I'm getting a facelift on Monday,
It feels like
we had just come back from our partner retreat in Palm Springs, and I was like, well, I'm getting a facelift tomorrow. I've been out all week
By the
at
way.
the partner retreat. Monday, I'm out again,
they're like, you look so refreshed.
yeah, you're looking, are you Benjamin Button? Like, what's going on with you? You can't just stay the youngest partner in a law firm
Right,
forever.
right.
I was like, oh, watch me. Yes, I can. Just you wait, No, but I was like, okay, I'll be there. But I was thinking, oh, God.
Oh God, yeah.
I hope I can have camera off. And then I was like,
Ugh.
oh, I'm fine. This is great. I just,
Amazing.
yeah. Throw those glasses on, hide the bruises.
Right.
So,
I love that you brought up TikTok again because I want to go back to that. Like,
Okay.
I fucking love that you were like, I'm going to share this journey.
yeah.
What was it in you that was brave enough to do that? I mean, I think that's part of your personality. You've already always been outgoing and brave and that person, but it's still like a lot to put yourself out there.
It is, and you expose yourself to like criticism and
Oh, there's some nasty
randoms.
people.
And like some people just say like things to be mean. They're obvious trolls, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, whatever. I just roll my
Mhm.
eyes. But okay, so full transparency, I want to get monetized on TikTok. And
Oh.
like I feel like this is good content,
Me too.
right? So I feel like this is good content.
Yeah.
When I was going into my procedure, right? I knew I was going to do it, and I didn't really care what information was out there or not because I trusted Dr. Moriotti. I knew I was going to come out looking good. I wasn't worried about that,
That's great. That
But-
level of confidence.
right? But I still would have liked to have seen someone my age who was doing the procedure because, quite frankly, there's not a lot out there. And even Dr. Moriotti was like, I've maybe had one other patient younger than you that's gotten.
See, and I'm surprised, but we'll go back to that. I have
Yeah.
some thoughts about that. but
So, yeah, we can talk about that a little bit too. But so I went on TikTok. I only found one other woman who was 41 or 42. She was in Texas. She had done a lower and she looked amazing. But she had also done, her procedure must have been a little bit different, right? Because she had done a blepharoplasty, which is the upper eyelids, and a brow lift. Why that's not a full facelift, I don't know. Because to me, based
Like-
on what was described to me, that would be a full facelift.
like a la carte.
Yeah, but she called it like a lower and
Oh.
then a separate bleph and brow lift. So
Okay.
again, not a surgeon, but just for comparison purposes, that was literally the only on TikTok, for God's sake.
Oh,
TikTok
I'm
has
surprised.
millions and probably
Yeah.
billions of people all around the world on it, and she was the only one.
People aren't talking
Wow.
about. They're not
So
sharing.
they're either not sharing
Right.
or they're not doing it because there's
Come on, LA. I'm sure there's tons of girls
Well,
younger than you doing it.
think about I mean, like even now, this new concept around the undetectable era, the Lindsay Lohan,
Yes.
who's recently like
It's ridiculous.
and she looks
amazing.
Better than she's ever looked. And there
Yes.
was someone else who also
Demi Moore.
Demi looks way better.
Oh,
She went through like
there's another
weird
one, too.
kind of phase where, and now she's, if you watch Landman, she's like back to, I think, looking much more.
Well, she looks my age. And I think she's 60.
Yeah, I think she's in her 60s.
Girl, if I can look like that
I
at
know.
60, sign me the
Right.
Yeah.
right? Like sign me up. I want to stay hot.
And
well into my
honestly,
60s.
Yes.
The part of me just now that got a little irritated that she's so much older than me and she
know.
has like a better neck than me. It's like I have to look at that and be like, okay, no, you can have it too, Greta.
You
like,
can.
yeah. I mean,
Especially if we can get monetized on TikTok. We can have anything we want.
All the things.
don't be a hater. Like,
But it's true.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was in full transparency. I thought it was going to be good content. I did not. It went, I mean, to me, it went viral. I know it's not millions of views, but that facelift, the day I'm putting my makeup on the day before, and I'm like, this is my last day with this face because tomorrow I'm getting a facelift, has over 300,000 views on it.
Oh,
You know why? Because you were so authentic. You were so you're great on it. And we'll definitely tag your TikTok handle in the episode so people can follow you.
Yeah, for sure.
But you were just so like no makeup on, your hair extensions out, like
Right?
showing like the issue, the problem areas that were bothering you. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is going to impact, I think, so many women that are feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And back to the age thing, like I think that it's probably more of a benefit for us to do these things sooner than later, just because we have the collagen still. We'll heal a little
Correct.
bit easier.
Yeah.
Like the older we get, the thinner the skin,
Right.
all of those things.
You're
It's
right.
like maybe be a little more preemptive.
Yeah.
And do little things gradually.
Instead of the one
big
thing.
one at 55, 60.
And
you know?
he did, Dr. Moriotti did say, look, you're at 44, you have more collagen still left in your skin. So that elasticity of your skin is going to hold longer.
Mhm.
He goes, so what you do at 40, in your 40s, could last you till your 60s, assuming you still take care of your skin and do all the other things that we need in our lives. But when you do it in your 60s, you maybe only get 10 years out of it.
So you get this longevity.
Some longevity. But I'd also read, and this is not, I'm not holding myself as an expert in this whatsoever, but I've also read like pre and post menopause can make a difference as well.
Interesting.
And so.
Well, yeah, you lose all of the
Right.
collagen, the elastin. We were just talking about that. When your estrogen drops.
Right. So, I mean.
Your healing power is so much greater.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, obviously it's going to be a very personal choice every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if you're considering it, I'm going to be your hype girl and say, like, do it.
And you put yourself out there so they can watch your progress
Right.
every step of the way.
And hopefully not be scared. I get a lot of messages like, oh, I'm scared to do it. Don't be scared to do it. Do it. I mean, if you have other fears of anesthesia or whatever, but like if you're afraid that you're going to come out looking bad, you're not. Pick the right surgeon.
That's it.
Figure it out.
Do your research.
Get comfortable with the process. Know that this is how you're going to evolve and this is how it's going to heal. And just go for it. If it's something that you want and that you're in a position to do, I say do it. And I will stand by that. I will die on that hill.
I love it.
Do it.
Yeah. And you know what? Everyone is so different. It's like I have a girlfriend who has said, when we're all hanging out, like, I can't wait to see what I look like as an older woman. Like, good for her. I mean, I like the idea of that. And there's part of me that like, oh, maybe, but then realistically, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Like you have to know yourself.
Right.
And what's important and what makes you feel good. And I think at the end of the day, just do you.
Mm-hmm. And aging
your life.
gracefully can be defined in any way that you want to define it.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
You can age, and I mean, I have gray hair. It drives me nuts. I would love to slow that process. But at some point in my life, I'm probably not going to dye my hair every few weeks to cover up my gray.
I'm hoping they come out with something you can take orally.
I just saw some kind of like shampoo, and I'm like, I'm going to probably be influenced into buying that.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know. I'll come back in a year and let you know.
They can fund you. Let them send that to you. You'll do all the like testing on your TikTok.
I'll see how it goes. I've got plenty of grays growing in, but you can, and I agree with you. There are some friends that are like, oh, I don't do this and I don't do that. God bless you.
Don't judge me.
It's just so personal. It's
Yes.
such a personal thing, and I think you have to do what aligns with your own morals and values, and not to say that by getting plastic surgery is not a morally okay thing to do, but if that is in your world fine with you, then do it. If it's not, then don't do it. And it doesn't, and don't judge your friend or your neighbor, for what they're choosing to do, because it's not impacting you. Right. So, and I struggle with both, because there's that natural side of me that kind of goes around like, I want to age in a way where if somebody says, oh, Michelle, have you ever done Botox? And I'm like, no. And they're all, oh, you look good. I'm like, thanks. And it feels good, right? Like, so
she's never done it. I can't believe it.
But there's moments like that. And then there's moments though, where it's like, well, actually there are times where I'm getting a little curious because, there's only so much I can do to get these lines softened, and there might be that day where I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it.
Right.
And I'm not going to come down on myself like that wasn't what your value was, but no, this is how I was feeling at that point in my life. This is how I'm feeling at this point in my life.
Right.
Gonna do what feels good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know. I know a lot of women ruminate so much on this. It's such a
I did.
crazy.
I went back and forth for like 10 years about getting my boobs done after breastfeeding the kids.
Yeah.
And they just were like barely anything left, that they just sucked me dry. And at the end of the day, I had to really analyze and like go deep within and figure out like, well, why do I even want to do this? And I think that's a good question for people to just ask themselves. Like, are you doing it because you think you want to get a guy? Or like you think there's just, what is your root cause? I mean, and at the end of the day, I was like, I'm doing this to feel more like myself again. To feel more like to put back what they took away, kind of. What aging and being a mom and breastfeeding took away. And it was like, can we just put Greta back together again a little bit?
Yeah.
And, once I came to that conclusion, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. But it was a process for me.
Well, and I was the opposite, where mine were so big that I'm like, to me, this was my own judgment of myself. I was like, this looks disgusting. This isn't pretty. So I went in to get them reduced because I wanted to look sexy. Like, I don't want to look like I'm this porn star who's just like, here's all the boobs. It's like, no, hold on. I want to wear like a cute little dress or a cute shirt and not feel like the first thing that's coming at you are my boobs, because that's how it was from teenage years and beyond until I did my reduction at 40. And here's the other crazy thing. Is I remember wanting to get this reduction and thinking, oh, but I want to nurse my babies and I want to do this. And you can't with a reduction, right? You can with implants, but not with the reduction. And then I go and have these babies and I'm producing like hardly any milk. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, I've been carrying these around.
Oh my gosh.
For what? And so then I felt like, you know what? I should have done this, because when I was younger, and I mean, I'm still active, but like I was a lot more active just naturally. And it would have been so nice to have my 30s of just feeling this sense of freedom versus now at 40. Because when I did it at 40, it was like, okay, yeah, my boobs are smaller, but now my stomach is looking different because, it's, again, we're aging, right? And
you're like, damn it, I could have enjoyed it when my tummy.
Exactly. Like all that stuff. So,
why we put ourselves through the agony.
So it's just to share that, like, we all have our own process that we go through with all of this, but it is such a personal thing. And I think if the little thought is there, talk to people about it. Ask the questions, right? And when you find somebody like you who's willing to really share all the things, even the little things that were like, hey, I did this and I'm still dealing with a little da-da-da. It's all good, because you can get a full picture of all of it and have an informed decision when you do decide. Or you decide, no, I don't want that. And I'm just going to age gracefully and see what I look like when I'm older, I mean, whatever you choose to do. But I love that we actually haven't, it's funny because in our podcast, we've had a lot of people where we've talked more about like body image and kind of just this feeling of feeling really secure with who you are. And some of the conversations went to that part of like, you should feel secure just in the way that you are and accept where you are right now and those things. But I love that we're also addressing the other side of it because there shouldn't be shame in on any spectrum, right? Whether you're here or there. Like you should just feel good with what your decision is.
Well, you said something. You talked about feeling the freedom, that sense of freedom. You wish you would have done it sooner because you would have had that. And I mean, I'm sure you have it now after you decided to do it. I'm sure you feel that sense of freedom, like not having to do your makeup a certain way or wear certain things. Like I felt that with bathing suits because like there was a point where I wasn't even filling them out. I turned to the side, you'd see my whole nipple, everything. So just getting dressed, freedom, like there is something to that. And it's like, it's not just all about this superficial thing. It's like feeling comfortable in your body. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having that free feeling. And
why do you want to walk around feeling not free? And look, we're in an era where body positivity and acceptance of every body shape is a thing. Mm-hmm. That's not how we grew up.
No.
So there is a part in there that's like still thinking about that. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad.
Yeah.
It's just that's a part. So if your body looks like this and you're fine with it, good for you. If your body looks like this and you're not and you can do something about it, good for you.
Yeah.
So let's be accepting of everybody's decisions across the board, whether it's to stay, this size or that size or to do this or to do that. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like
that's actual acceptance.
That's actual acceptance.
Yeah.
Not shaming me for wanting to do these things so that I can look like what I think I should look like on the outside because this is how I feel on the inside,
I have a question.
Yes, ask.
When you lost all that weight.
Yeah.
Did you have people in your life, and you can answer this if you want.
Yeah.
Did you have people in your life that started treating you differently
and
like were mad at you for losing the weight? Like almost maybe secretly mad at you for losing it?
I do think that they're,
like you weren't in the club anymore. Like,
yes. I definitely think that I have a situation ongoing with that with a close-ish friend. And I think that makes it hard for all of us to navigate. And it's like, well, you could do it too. And I know, trust me, I know it's freaking hard, but like I get up every day, 5 days a week, pretty much, unless I go to Orange Theory 5 days a week, unless I'm traveling for work and like literally cannot go there. I never wake up and say, I'm not going to the gym today, right? Like I go, that's just what I do. Every workout is different. Some days I go harder than other days, but I go.
You're committed.
But I do think that people, both sides of the coin. Some people I think treat you better. There's definitely like a pretty skinny privilege.
Oh, interesting.
And some people I think,
it makes them kind of feel way.
Yes. And like, oh my gosh, I normally go to the gym at 7:30 in the morning. I have a group that I go with. I wear like a sports bra and leggings, whatever. But I had to go to the gym last night instead because I had a deposition yesterday and I couldn't go in the morning. So I went and I just felt like I was in my normal workout attire for me, but I was like feeling so judged by everyone who was in that class. Oh. And I was like, well, I got extra competitive last night. Cause I'm like, well, I guess if I'm going to come with, abs and a crop top, I better show my workout, right? So last night I had like a really great workout, but I was still feeling self-conscious, even as like a thin, fit person. I was feeling judged by the people who are probably a little bit less fit. Still exercising.
They're at a different place.
Nobody was in a sports bra but me. And I was like, this is very awkward, But
that's the deeper thing. I think that even goes beyond like what, we're again presenting on the outside is that it doesn't matter. It's like there is something that we're all struggling with internally. And I think that's the bigger issue to for each person to individually really dive into versus like, oh, I got a facelift or oh, I got whatever,
I lost 100 pounds.
Yeah. And I know that's like off topic from what we're here, but I'm like, I wish I could have looked to the woman next to me who was like in a full sweatshirt and baggy pants. Dying, right? Like struggling compared to my just like cruising along on the treadmill. I wish I could have turned her and be like, listen, I used to weigh 100 more pounds than I do.
Right.
You know? So
and like me wearing this
is like a badge of honor.
Yeah, for sure.
Here in this outfit, you know. So, anyways, I know that's a little off topic.
Well, it is, and it's not because I think it's all part of everything.
So
I think I could see getting even more judgment from maybe chubby friends.
Right.
When you've lost a lot of weight than even the facelift. Like, I think it just stirs up things in people.
Yeah. And I think weight loss is just a thing that like people, weight loss, weight gain, it's something, at least in our, I think, generation and age group and our parents' generation and age group for sure.
Oh, yeah. The
it's
90s
something that gets commented on, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, you look back at your parents. My mom is going to be, she's 69, so she'll be 70, I think, this year. Like, you look back and, like, nobody was chubby in the 50s and 60s because they didn't have processed food.
Yeah.
No,
I'm getting way off topic here.
It always ties into all this
You know?
Yeah.
But, like, I think, you know, and moms didn't work outside the home, and my sister and I were latchkey kids, and I had, you know, other food was comfort for me with other things that were going on in my house. And
there's a lot of people on meds these days that weren't back then, and those have a tendency too. It's like more toxins in our body. So let's go back. Yeah, totally. Let's go back to the weight thing though for a minute because I mean that's really the start of the journey. And how did you lose the weight?
I did all of the things that everybody says you need to do. First of all, I switched from being like a yo-yo dieter, like dramatic. I had done Atkins and lost weight at different times in my life. And my sister and I just decided that we were going to eat less. And so we started just by sharing meals. Every single meal we shared.
Okay.
So anything that I used
to that
in like duplicate, I ate just half
of it. And that takes out all the guesswork of like, well, how many calories does this have? And You're like, I'm just simplifying it for now.
Yeah. And then the next thing that I had to get comfortable with was not finishing my plate if I didn't want to finish my plate.
Like connecting with that feeling of I'm full.
Right.
I'm
and
satisfied.
Then, you know, I went through different phases over the course of it was like 2 full years. I got to my goal weight right before. So I started in 2021 and I got to my goal weight, pretty close to my goal weight, right before my tummy tuck. And so like I went for a period where I didn't drink because I mean,
it definitely
do all the things.
Slows your metabolism. It adds calories.
Makes you have snacks at the end of the night.
Yeah, it makes you eat whatever you feel, like 40 crackers and cheese instead of like 3, whatever. Or Jack in the Box drive-through, whatever it is. I went through that phase like the whole summer of 2021, I think it was. Everyone thought we were like drinking in the pool, but I always just had water in my little sippy cup or whatever. So it's lots of different things. Not one thing consistently all the time, except for the gym.
Okay, because I'm like 100 pounds is I mean, that's like a person. You know what I mean?
A whole person.
You've dropped a person.
Yeah. And the gym we started like in May or June of 2021. I went back, we were still masked, but I went back to Orange Theory in 2021 with the friggin' mask
That would be hard. I think I'd pass out.
I was going to say dying slowly.
But then that's when, so we started back the end of June, I think, beginning of July. And I just, like I said, I go every day.
Yeah, committed.
I'm very committed and I'm very consistent. And I think consistency is.
And you and your sister.
Yeah, me and my sister.
Yeah. So that's a good commitment partner.
Right. And especially
hold each other accountable.
Find a person. And then we made friends and we have like a little clique, right? Yeah. Like at Orange Theory now. And so these certain treads are ours every day.
Our turf.
Love that.
And we're consistent. And I just think consistency is like the big key to it. So.
I mean, just probably starting was hell, I bet. Like those first like couple weeks going back to the gym are just brutal. You feel like
Brutal.
you're gonna die. You take blood in your lungs. Like
you can't breathe. I'm like
dehydrated.
Still like the first like 5 minutes, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This is terrible. You know? And I went from being like a power walker, like to I'm a runner now. I go and I run like 3 miles every morning.
Dang it. Yeah. Good for you.
Can I run outside? I don't know.
Oh.
Because like the treadmill is different than running outside. And, you know, and I like the environment of a group workout, you know? So.
Yeah, you guys probably look forward to just getting to see each other. We had a little Joni's Jet Setters, our little COVID group that we would get together and work out in the park. And it was like, then we just talk for an hour afterwards.
It was fun. It was motivating because it was fun.
Yeah.
Yes, and that makes it fun. So it's all part of the process, right? It's all part of the equation and how you end up where you are and what you're doing. And
I love though that we are talking about this because I think also a lot of times at least I've heard many people say to me, "Oh, I'm just going to get the fat sucked out of here," but then they're not willing to change anything. And
lifestyle,
what I've even seen with people who have had different plastic work done, like a tummy tuck or lipo, and they don't change anything. And so then like where you had the lipo, that fat moves somewhere else. Well, not moves, but like the other parts of your body start getting that fat because you're still eating the same way. Yeah. And so like you're not getting obviously the results that you were hoping for, right? And so I think that's a big thing for people to even also think about, like, hey, if you want to do this, then think about like what you're also willing to commit to, because you're going to be unhappy. You know, if you do one part, like if you did have the skin, you cut that out and now you're just eating the same way, the fat needs to go somewhere, right? So, and now your body is going to change even more disproportionately is what starts to happen. So that's what I saw. Like people got tummy tucks, all the fat distribution went to their back. And then it was like, oh shoot, what's happening back here, you know? And so you can't just keep lipoing that out.
No.
There's no real quick fixes, right? No. It's like you, at the end of the day, you just like committed to doing the actual work, eating less and working out. And then I'm sure you've even like learned more about nutrition and things like that because we didn't have that in the 90s either.
We did not.
Yeah.
We did not have any of that.
Everything was like sugar-free, fat-free. But
like,
then
I literally ate Kraft macaroni and cheese the other day. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I was but I didn't feel good afterwards. I was like, why did I used to love this? And I did used to love it. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't like terrible, but I was like, I used to love mac and cheese from the box, you know? And now
your taste buds actually changed.
No, and my taste buds have changed. I used to not be like that into spice, but now I'm like, I'm only going to eat this much. I want like every layer to have a different flavor to it. Really, really good, you know? And let me just pivot back to one thing you guys were saying about, you know, the consistency and the work. Like, if we're talking about what's obviously very on trend right now is like Ozempic and tirzepatide and semaglutide and all of that. Like that's another area where I think there's shame associated with that. And I think people should not be shamed for using a tool to help them get to their goals. Now, if you're using that in the same way that you're using plastic surgery to just quickly fix something, that's a different analysis or a different consideration. But I do think that there's a lot of like hate, if you will, out in the world over these drugs. And as a person who struggled with my weight, if somebody would have told me
you can take
that I could do this shot and it would help me to not be hungry and it would quiet that food noise that I've had for 40 freaking years on this planet. And that was what I used to like comfort any chaos or stress that was going on when I was a kid, I'd have been like, sign me up. Yeah. And I think I personally probably would have had the same outcome that I do now, which is I found a balance and everything's in moderation and balance. But like, while we're embracing everybody doing what they need to their body, let's also embrace what everybody needs to do to their body to their mind to get their body to where they want it to be.
Right. Yeah, and like, just if maybe you wouldn't do that personally, like, so what? To each his own again.
Yeah, to each their own. I'm always like, do it. People ask me about it, I'm like, do it. I'd have done it if I had the opportunity. I would 100% do it.
Food you can be like a slave to food. Like when you were talking about those things, it's like you're waking up thinking, well, what do I want to eat? And what do I want to have for lunch? And what am I going to have for, and especially if you're trying to lose weight, it's even harder. It becomes a louder voice of like,
And then you shame yourself for taking that extra bite.
Yeah.
And then now, whatever, I might as well keep going because I just did that. And it's a whole spiral.
It is. I mean, judgment is at the root of all of this.
Yeah.
It's the judgment that's at the root of anything that you're feeling one way or the other. It's just all right there.
Yeah, I love that you said that for the last 10 years you've been saying goodbye to where you see the judgment, the judger coming out in you. Yeah. And I think we all have it. I mean, sometimes it's a way to keep you safe, or I mean, there's lots of biological reasons we have that little judgment voice. But I think just making that conscious effort as women, let's stop judging our sisters. Like, let's allow people to live their full, beautiful life, however they want to live it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they want to eat the whole cheesecake and be 100 pounds heavier. Let them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that Mel Robbins' new thing?
Oh,
like, let them.
Let them.
That's in a different way, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, I mean, it's
Stop trying to control everybody.
Yeah. Like, just let it be. Meet
Yeah.
people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Meet people where they are.
You honestly have enough to worry about with your own self.
Right?
Seriously.
Are you worried about anybody else?
Yeah, my mind is probably saying way more to me than you are, you know?
Right?
So, like,
and way more about me. Like, trust
Way
me,
more.
my judgment's way worse than
Yes.
yours. Exactly. What I'm thinking about myself right now is, but again, I just think that, we're in a time in our lives where I think because of our age, we're able to say that. And so if I could impart any kind of wisdom on somebody who's in their 20s is to try to do the same thing. You just don't know what's going to happen in your life. So why are you judging other people?
Oh, I'm so glad you just said that.
So
When I was like 20 or 19, I said to myself, don't ever say never about any of this stuff.
Right.
And I think that's good advice for younger people.
yeah,
Because you don't
Really
know.
is.
Like at that time, there were a lot of people getting the really big boob jobs. And I was probably a little like, well, what the fuck? I don't know. But then I was like, I might do that one day. And you know what? I did.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't shoot yourself in the foot. And
Right.
like,
Totally.
make those judgments and have those big, put yourself in a box.
Right.
You don't know.
But it
never
never
talk in
25.
absolutes though, because I think
Yeah.
that's where
You
we start
can't,
getting is in that space of absolute where it's like this or that, now, never, whatever, never or this. And it's
I'm
like,
never going to feed my kids this.
Yeah.
Then you have kids and you're like, shut the fuck up. Here
Eat
is
this.
a red dye thing.
Yeah.
have the macaroni and cheese in the box
Here's
and the
some
crackers.
Kraft and a Kool-Aid and you're fine and I'm fine and we're fine and that's great.
And I'm going to get Ozempic now and
Yeah.
whatever else I need to calm my
Yeah.
fucking nerves.
Yeah.
Or you're 25 and you're like, I'm going to age gracefully.
Right.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
You don't
I
know.
never said any of that shit.
I know.
I was like, fucking, I'm getting my boobs done. Like,
Here's my list.
getting my boobs done no matter what. Like, I took the bar exam the summer of 2005, and I use you get a loan. It's called a bar loan to pay for your, tutor for your bar. Fucking, I saved half mine for tits, okay? So
Well, tits and a tutor.
You were
I
like,
passed the bar on the first try, so I think I was fine. I think I made a good decision.
That's right. Smart lady.
oh, cheers. Cheers to that.
Yeah, for
Woo,
sure.
I love it. What a great reward for all that hard work, right? Oh, my gosh.
Love it.
Oh,
You know what? This was great. Thank you so much for coming on. I just think you are lighting up this room. I appreciate you for your overall message of honoring yourself, being true to yourself, no matter what that looks like. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think we knew that this topic was going to have way deeper layers than just like, oh, she got a facelift, lower facelift.
This is as deep as the facelift goes,
right.
all the way down.
Hairline.
And I think all of our listeners are going to get little tidbits from this. It was a great talk. Thank you so
I'm
much
so
for
glad.
coming.
Well, thank you guys for having me. This was a
Thank
lot of
you.
fun. So have me back anytime.
Yeah.
Yes.